Okay, so we spent a little bit of money. This is a 9-inch Yukon big bearing, 3.250 bearing. You can kind of see the difference between those two. That's a stock case unit, just a stock iron 9-inch. That's the aftermarket. Now this is going to be good up to about somewhere to the tune of 1,200-ish horsepower, which is setting the world on fire numbers, but you never know. Maybe that's what we're going to do. Bolt through case. Got that extra support. Now I'm not quite sure what we're going to do for a rear gear on this guy yet, but I do know that we're going to be running a spool. So that'll save us on money on like a locker setup or anything like that. Spool is just fine for what we're trying to do. Got the bearing kit with it. Billet, yoke, and then shout out to my boy here. And then the Daytona pinion support, 5-bolt setup on that. So everything together, that should set us up nicely. And that's going to go in on the rear end of the wagon. And again, that should be to the tune of about, hopefully 1,200 horse. And we're aiming for about the 1,000-foot mark right off the bat. I don't know if that's feasible or not. We're going to figure it out. Now, if you're looking at this and going, man, he blew some of his budget on that, you are exactly correct, but it's not as much as you think. With the billet yoke, the Daytona pinion support, the bearing kit, and the housing was $560 shipped to my door. So that's going to be a good unit for the rear end. Brandon's got the housing for it up at his shop, something that kind of looks like that, but he's got it all stripped down. He's washing it at the shop, and then we'll build that third member here and we'll cut everything down to size. Now shout out to Tim, because he's actually going to be the one that puts these units together. And we traded him a transmission a while back, so he's gonna trade us some of his labor and assemble the unit. We're also getting the axles and the spool out of him too. So $560. The rear end housing came with the car, so that's how much we're into the rear end. And I'll keep you posted on if there's anything other expenses. But as of right now, that's just about all we got. And that's the spool for it. Perfect. That'll make some power. So instead of a crush sleeve, that's just a solid spacer. Is that what that is? Billet spacer. So no crush sleeve on this one then, huh? Nope. Nice. So this is the pinion and the pinion support. And this has a solid washer, solid sleeve in there instead of the crush sleeve. Now when you put these together with a crush sleeve, you tighten the pinion nut to the specification, and that'll crush your washer down. Those are a one-use type of deal. This that we've got, this solid spacer, is going to be measured out in these shims. So you take it apart a million times and put it together in the jig. Press down on the pinion, fully flat on the yoke, and then you can spin this to get it to the proper preload. Now what we've got on here right now is probably around the 540 to 560 thousandths mark. We'll keep pulling this apart and putting it back together a couple times, but this is getting close. This is the try number 4, so we're dialing it in pretty quick here. And then over here on our casing itself, we've got the snap ring out, and this is going to start going together. This is going to be a 350 gear that goes in the rear with a spool as well. So that's kind of the setup and what we've got going on here, and how you measure out that solid spacer versus the crush sleeve. Now it's been about a week or two since I took those videos that you just watched, and I wanted to come out and show you the fully assembled unit. Now this has got the spool in it, big Daytona bearings, painted a nice pattern on there. Now, one of the ways that he was explaining to me about painting patterns is you can kind of see the tooth on this gear, and then where it lines up, that's kind of the hard edge of the tooth, and then that's obviously the face of that. Now, as you're spinning that, I was told that this is supposed to be like an electric fence. So pretend all the corners and barriers, outer edges of that tooth is an electric fence, and you don't want any of that pattern on the electric fence. So what you want to do is keep on going until you paint that pattern so it's right where it's supposed to be, both on the front and on the back. That gear is going to wear just fine. Less of a concern on the coast side for that electric fence that I was just telling you about, way more of a concern on the power side, but that's going to work out well. And I believe 350 gear, I'll take another look in my notes rather and make sure that that's correct, but that's going to be our third member unit for the axle housing. I'm doing a little bit of measuring on the back end of the wagon right now, just trying to figure out what tire setup to use. So far I'm thinking like a 30 if we can fit it, but 28 by 10 would be just fine. 28 9.5 would be fine. 28 9 would be fine. The issue is that there's not enough room back there to fit a big tire, so we're going to be doing something to the tune of an 8-inch wheel and then maybe a 10-inch wide tire, depending on what we can fit back there. So I'll do some measuring, and we might even go pick up some wheels a little bit later this week. Stay tuned, and I'll show you what that all looks like. Now, I figured I'd come out to the car and kind of show you what we're working with. That's a stock wheel right there, and I think that should be just about like 6 inches wide. Don't quote me on that. That is how much space we've got between the wheel and the leaf spring, and then the leaf spring attaches to the frame. We've got about an extra 2 inches. So as you can see, there is not much room to work with at all. What I think we might end up doing is I want to run stock suspension for some classes that we're talking about. So I'm thinking about doing a spring relocate and putting that on the inside of the frame rail instead of right on top of the frame rail. So move that to the inside. That will give us a couple of inches to fit a bigger tire under here. And again, hopefully we're shooting for that 28 by 8 wide. In a perfect world, I'd love to fit a 30 by 10 wide under the back of this thing, but that's a lot of tire for this little vehicle. So we'll see what's going on. Taking a pit stop over here at a family friend's house. And what we're gonna be doing is they've got this 1969 Mustang convertible, 302. And they brought it back from Florida to Denver. Hasn't been driven in quite some time. The last time we drove it was me and a buddy of mine drove it for our high school graduation. So it's been sitting ever since. Family wants to get it out, so we are going to get it running. I already did some work on it in the past. Just drained the fuel tank, I'll show you that video. Drained the fuel tank, made a cool custom fuel pump bucket for it. Fuel pump bucket in action. You can see it's working. It's ticking. Fuel line straight to carburetor. That's what this thing's running off of. That bucket. I took the fuel pump line, routed it around, looped it around. It's down. It's pissing gas into that bucket. Holy shit, that's almost full. and then just needed a carburetor and a couple of other things. Last year, I just kind of dropped the ball on it. I got distracted by some other projects. This year, we're attacking it with full force. Me and Brandon stopped by, just hit the key, got it running, and then today we're gonna do a carburetor swap on it, and I'll show you what that looks like. Now, when you get these cars, it's always good. I bought a new battery for it, put a new battery in. Everything else is exactly the way it was 10 years ago when we drove this for high school graduation. It's, yeah, there's a fluid in there. That looks green-ish. You just want to check your fluids, make sure everything's going to be full. Or at least, you know, have some in it. That's an issue. That I topped off last time me and Brandon drove it around. I wanted to make sure we had brakes. The F100 has that issue. I don't need that again. Could use a PCV valve. Not real thrilled with that guy. Otherwise, solid little engine. You know, I don't see anything too wrong down here. I think we can get this running and driving just fine. All right, now this is what you get with your Amazon special carburetor here. And I might pull it apart and see what size jets are in it. This is the Holley that's coming off. And that's gonna work out as a vacuum secondary electric choke carb. And what's going on is it's just piss and fuel right out of that gasket. So where the flange bolts to the throttle plate itself, or that body mechanism, it's pooling gas down there in the carburetor. You can kind of see that. So it doesn't run good. For every half a gallon that goes into the engine, a half a gallon goes onto the intake manifold, which is not great when you're trying to drive this in 100-degree weather. That tends to pose some fire hazards. It's okay, there's sons of firefighters, so that might work out for them. Nice little car, very clean. We'll do some work to it, and we'll show her some daylight. Here is ye old carburetor, and you can see she's gunky. She's gunky. That's the gasket. That was pouring fuel between everything. Little Holley guy. Me and my buddy Holly here. Now we're gonna, again, this PCV valve I really don't like, so I might do something about that at a later date. Get that little thing fixed up right, or at least painted something that's not red. I'll show you what it looks like when we get this guy all hooked up where he needs to be. Check out the convertible? Yeah, you're gonna check out the convertible? Oh yeah. Wanna go for a ride? Yeah. We can go for a ride. Let's go for a ride. Ready to go for a little cruise, Hank? That's alright, we're just backing up. Back it up! You looking out for me? Yeah. We're doing all right. Backing up. There. That should be good. What do you think? Yeah, I agree. Should be just fine. I just feel like this needs to be documented because I've never, ever owned a car. Oh God, you gotta do the old. Now this just needs to be documented because I've never, ever owned a car where you can just reach in and just like that. Just like that. Just like that.